Well, one of the bigger problems for some of these refugee camps, particularly those in the Middle East, is the fact that a lot of them are not Muslims. They are other religions. They're Jewish, they're Christians, whatever the case may be. They've already been persecuted by ISIS and persecuted by other religions. They find it very difficult to be able to go to these refugee camps in Lebanon, in Turkey, and in Jordan, simply because they are being intimidated by whoever's running those camps. So that is very difficult. We have to put a great emphasis on the UNHRC. These people will usually dictate who is a refugee, what constitutes a refugee, and what constitutes a migrant, a economic migrant. And this is something that really needs to be addressed. And at the moment, people are suggesting we just put 12,000 people on a ship or on a numerous aircraft, fly them to Canada, and then we deal with it. We can't deal with this situation the way we dealt with it with the boat people, the Vietnamese boat people, because there wasn't a terrorism issue. Also, when the Ismailis were kicked out of Kenya and the Middle and Africa in the 70s, when those people came here, once again, there was no terrorist situation involved. This is a major concern that the government must address, is the fact these people are coming from an active war zone which is being run and controlled by people who have already said they're going to infiltrate the West using immigration and migration. It's best if we slow things down, look for a way to fast track the security and the refugee status of people who we intend to bring into this country. Once we do that, we can then bring them over, we can then put them in the right location where they get the housing virtually straight away and everything else, and then we integrate them to the best way we can. To bring them over, to put them in some type of transit camp in any province in Canada is not the way to do this. But people far more intelligent than me think that's the only way to go. And unfortunately, having worked in these refugee type situations many times during my lifetime, it does not work. One of the biggest issues we have at the moment is the fact that the government is saying they're going to try and move slowly through this. The big issue is we should not be intimidated from either within, through political parties or organizations, to bring in refugees who haven't been security cleared, haven't been cleared by the UNHRC, and therefore we don't know who these individuals are. We have got tried and tested checks and balances for all immigrants and for all refugees who come to Canada. We should not be forced, the government should not be forced into changing that because of political or non-political pressure. And that goes for around the world as well, because it's obvious the EU is not going to take all these people. They reckon there's another 200,000 waiting to springboard into Europe. So I don't know how many have come in yet, because those numbers have not been discussed because no one really knows. But trust me, eventually Europe's going to turn around and say, why isn't the rest of the world going to do anything about this? That is fine. We all want to help, but we have to do our checks and balances and make sure that we're getting the right people for the right reasons to come to Canada. Because most of the people who live in Canada have gone through those checks and balances to be here. And they've earned the right to live in Canada. Refugees obviously have to go through a similar type of process, because if we circumvent that process, we're leaving ourselves wide open, and future governments will turn around and blame the government at the time, whoever that government happens to be. It's their fault. We pressurized them to do this. They did what we wanted, and now we're accepting what has happened. So it's their fault, and that will be used as a political pawn in a decade's time.